Greetings, friends. I'm Reverend Ron Karstetter, and I'm grateful for the technology that allows me to be with you today. I pray that this message and meditation will be a blessing for you. My talk title is Divine Love Flowing Through Me. Now what? And I'm going to be sharing some thoughts on this idea of divine love individuated at the point of us and how it is or could express more fully in the form of our unique spiritual gifts in sacred service. The first part of the talk title, Divine Love Flowing Through Me, might sound familiar. It's the first line of a prayer that many Unity communities use as an offering blessing. But it has a much deeper, broader meaning as we lean into the awareness of the allness of God, divine love, source, good, infinite potentiality flowing in, through, and as us. We are individualized expressions of the flowing forth of divine love, manifestations of the unmanifest. Now what? I will prepare you up front that I'm going to be asking and leaving you with a lot of questions today, questions that will hopefully serve as prompts for you to go deeper into what it means that divine love is flowing through you, or more importantly, what meaning you choose to give it. And so around this central question of now what, I want to offer and unpack 5 other questions with you today. Who have you come here to be? And from a sense of your beingness, which is God, what makes you come alive? What have you come here to do? What unique spiritual gifts do you bring to the world? And how are you called to use these, your unique spiritual gifts, individually and communally in sacred service, to be the light of the world, to be the change that you wish to see, to co-create a world that works for everyone? I'd like to begin with quotes by 3 wisdom figures. To be is to do, Socrates. To do is to be, Jean-Paul Sartre. Do, be do, Sinatra. Now, I don't know about you, but there are days when my life feels like do, be do, be do be, do, be. Can anyone relate? So it's important to understand that our doing is always flowing from a sense of our being, whether we are aligned with our true divine nature or operating from a lower vibrational sense of self, of less than divine. Our doing is always flowing from whatever sense of self we are holding in consciousness. And so our work in unity is this journey in consciousness from our false self to our true self, to the Christ of our being, so that we show up and engage with life as the next best and highest version of ourselves, or the best Christ that we can be. These are our 5 unity principles at work. God is, I am, think it, pray it, live it. When Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore was teaching other spiritual explorers back in the early days of the Unity movement, he wanted his students to be able to clearly explain these truth principles. But after his students gave their explanations, he followed up with the questions, so how are you using these principles? How are you using truth to transform consciousness? And how is this transformed consciousness outpicturing in your lives? Charles told his students that if they weren't using these principles in the practicalities of their lives, they were merely theory. And so how are you using truth in the practicalities of your lives? Which leads us to, who have you come here to be? In their book, Who Have You Come Here to Be? 101 Possibilities for Contemplation, co-authors Rima Benario, Jane Simmons, and Kelly Isola ask, do you want more love, joy, and peace in your life? Are you longing for commitment, respect, rest, excitement? Do you want to experience more passion, bliss, calm, clarity, warmth, or purpose? Or all of the above? Well, the truth is you already have all of these within you. Whatever you long to experience outside of you is an aspect of you wanting to be birthed. And this is who you have come here to be. The only action required in any given moment is to connect to your hidden wholeness and experience what you long for within you. As this becomes your inner reality, it can't help but become your external reality because they are one and the same. There are thousands of experiences we often wish to create more of in our lives. And often we wrongly expect that someone or something outside of ourselves is the source of this good or the source of what's not good. We attribute the power to create to someone or something other than us. We fall asleep to our own creative powers and to the truth that all of our life experience is our creation. This is not some mystical mumbo jumbo for the enlightened ones of past ages on faraway mountaintops. This is science. Quantum science is demonstrating what the saints and sages have said for centuries. What we think we see is not what is. We do not live in a world of fixed, solid, or unchanging stuff. We are invited to have faith in things unseen. We live in a world of infinite potential where every possibility exists at once, and it exists within us, at the point of us, until we decide otherwise. It is our belief, our faith, that creates, and it is the quality of this faith that brings about an experience of either heaven or hell in our lives in the here and now. And so my invitation to you is, let go of what your physical senses tell you is true and tune into what your intuitive sense is telling you is true. That all things are possible with God, Source, the divine. We only need to connect to the divine wholeness, the infinite potential within. Everything is just information flowing back and forth within this field of infinite possibilities. If you want something new to enter your life experience, we must first use our faculties of faith, imagination, zeal, and persistence to bring it into being within. As we frequently and passionately align with this unlimited field of possibility to create a consistent inner experience of what we desire, it can't help but become manifest in our outer experience. Friends, we really are the one we've been waiting for. We create the quality of our lives by who we are being on the inside. And so what do you long for? And I'm not talking about what stuff you want. What is the deepest longing of your heart? Is it to feel safe, abundant, or successful? Is it a longing for acceptance, respect, or love? Is it to be engaged, purposeful, or visionary? Is it all of the above? And then what are your longings trying to tell you about the experience of life you wish to have, or the person or community that you want to be? What qualities of being are you attracted to? Who is it that you wish to be? Which leads to what makes you come alive. What are your joys? What is it that you love to do? What lights you up, gives you energy, or ignites your imagination? What projects, passions, expressions, or interests give you lasting satisfaction? What are you doing when you feel most fully alive? And then what is needed in your community or in the world? What does your community really need right now? What does the world really need right now? And where do you hurt over what is happening to others? What's happening in your community or in the world? And then where do your joys intersect or connect with what is needed in your community or in the world? What action is needed to make the connection between a specific joy and what is needed? Which leads to, what have you come here to do? At this point, I want to revisit that offering blessing, divine love through me. And so I invite you to close your eyes for a moment, to drop into stillness, to take a deep breath, and to really listen to, lean into, and receive these words and this prayer as your own. Divine love, flowing in, through, and as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I choose to give, and all that I am open to receive. Divine love flowing in, through, and as me. Now what? What are you going to do with it? How does or could divine love more fully express through you, as you? Which leads to, what unique spiritual gifts do you bring to the world? Everyone has one or more spiritual gifts. In the New Testament, in his first letter to the Corinthians, Paul explains that just as the physical body is made up of many parts, each with their own individual function working in harmony with the other parts to make a working body, So is the body of Christ, or the community of faith. We are all given various gifts so that the work of the church, the work of God, the work of love, might go out into the world as a source of healing and transformation, of birthing and building a greater reality. And so, what are your spiritual gifts? What are your superpowers? Are you a teacher, a musician, a poet, or an artist? Are you a good listener, a prayer partner, a healer? Are you a visionary, a community organizer, a strong administrator, a strategic planner, a bridge builder? Someone who loves to create space for hospitality and sacred connection? Someone who cares for and advocates for the earth? What service are you doing when you feel the happiest? What service do you perform well? What service, when performing it, makes you feel that you are contributing to God's work? What service do you look forward to doing the most? Spiritual gifts, talents, and skills have four basic purposes: personal growth, service, unity, and love. Recognizing our spiritual gifts can increase our self-esteem and invite us to feel a more integral closeness with others. They are our blessings that we can share for the common good. They bind us together in unity and love in our care for each other and for the world. They allow us to behold the Christ in each other, to build each other up. And finally, using our spiritual gifts is a visible sign for those who are feeling lost or disenfranchised, or seeking a place to call their spiritual home, that you are living the truth that you know, that you are love in action. Which leads us to, how are you called to use these spiritual gifts in sacred service? To be the light of the world, to be the change that you wish to see, to co-create a world that works for everyone. There are 5 forms of sacred service that I want to touch on briefly. First is service to the divine. Without constant connection with divine grace, illumination, and strength at our center, no one of us can serve, especially in a world as challenging as ours. So turn to the divine within as you, and serve from that place of inner knowing with devotion and gratitude, knowing that as you do, your mind is illuminated, your heart is more open and compassionate, and you are filled with the sacred energy to do that which is yours to do. The second is service to yourself as an expression of the divine. We need to be healthy and strong in body, mind, and spirit to serve. This means looking after the soul through prayer and meditation and other spiritual practices, looking after the mind through constant inspiration, looking after the heart and its emotions by deep shadow work, and looking after the body by diet, exercise, and sufficient rest. Physical, emotional, and spiritual self-care is self-love and allows us to give the world the best of us rather than what's left of us. The next form of service is to all sentient beings in your life. Everything would change if only we would treat every single being we meet, animal or human, as who they really are, God in disguise. The next is service to your spiritual and local community. Our fast-paced life in this 21st century separates us from one another, and this increases suffering immeasurably. Our communities reflect the problems of the larger world. Ask yourselves individually and communally, what is yours to do? And act immediately, so that your heartbreak becomes a living force of practical compassion in your daily world. And finally, service to the global community. Each choice we make affects everyone else. The only possible response to this acute interconnectedness is what the Dalai Lama calls universal responsibility. Our decision to be conscious at our core of the effect all of our choices have on every other being on the planet, and to make all of our choices congruent with our most compassionate beliefs, begins the process of restoring and transforming the world, and we give birth to a greater reality. Divine love flowing through me. Now what? A lesson in A Course in Miracles reminds us, I am among the ministers of God. You are among the ministers of God. And if not now, when? And if not you, who? So, yoo-hoo, here's your homework should you choose to accept it. It is to continue to lean into those questions. Who have you come here to be? And what have you come here to do? The good news, you are already being and doing it. I behold the Christ you are, both individually and communally, and it is a blessing to behold. Be more of that, God in expression. Otherwise, in the words of Charles Fillmore, it's just a theory. I'd like to close with a short reflection on transformation. So I invite you to take a heart-centered community breath, and close your eyes again if that's comfortable, and to receive this affirmation and reflection as your own. I let go into the transforming light of God within. I let go into the transforming light of God within. All people are yearning to awaken. Humanity reflects this as we evolve beyond out-of-date ways, moving past limiting thought patterns and into the next step in our spiritual evolution. I am in the process of spiritual awakening. My divine gifts benefit not only myself, but the whole of humanity as well. I take my place in this global spiritual process of awakening and do my part. Every loving encounter I have with others, no matter how small, is turning the tide and transforming us all. I make a courageous choice in each moment to be love in expression on behalf of all my sisters and brothers and for my own soul. I awaken to the unfolding of my being and put that awareness to work in my community and in my world. I let go into the transforming light of God. Let this affirmation lead us into the silence and into a time of meditation. In the scriptures, we read of Jesus inviting his disciples to come ye apart for a while and rest. And so it is with deep gratitude that we hear this same invitation and breathe into the gift of this sacred time of meditation, where we are invited to just be. For this is a time of Sabbath, Sabbath for the soul. And so if you choose, you may close your eyes to outer distractions or lower and soften your gaze. And I invite you to take a deep and intentional community breath. And with each inhale and exhale, to enter more deeply into stillness. Simply noticing the body and letting it, allowing it, inviting it to become so very still. Releasing any attachment to the thoughts that float through your mind. No struggle, no pushing away of the thoughts, using them only as signals to return to the breath. And when the mind is still, it is free from fear, free from expectation, labels, ideas, worries, or judgments. We just allow that energy that speaks of separation to settle into this moment. And we call on that energy of oneness that unites and transforms us. We gently allow our attention to drift to the center of our being, our heart space, where regardless of any relative thoughts or feelings to the contrary, we touch and contemplate the divine I am, the truth of who and what we are, untethered, unhindered, unlimited. And so we simply let go and rest for a while in the stillness of the silence, in that graceful state of allowing God to be through us, in us, as us, in the silence, in the silence. Invite a deep community breath. This time of Sabbath, of rest in the silence, is good for the soul. And so we bring the blessing of this time of renewal with us as we gently return in consciousness to this time and space. The breath flowing in and out, gratitude welling up in your hearts from this place of infinite peace. May you carry this affirmation with you. I am one with the consciousness of God's perfect life in me. I am one with the consciousness of God's perfect life in me. We make this affirmation in the name and through the power of the indwelling Christ that invites us into the ever newness and fullness of life. And so with another community breath, as you are ready, I invite you to gently open your eyes with a knowing in your heart that I, you, and we are the place where God shows up. And so it is, and so we allow it to be. Peace be with you, friends. I behold the Christ you are.